I never thought we'd see Bungie like this. This was the studio once. The studio, the kings of console shooters, the company that made Halo. If you were gaming in the 2000s, Bungie felt untouchable, and now Destiny 2 is struggling to keep momentum. Marathon launched into skepticism and controversy, players are exhausted, fans are angry, Sony reportedly spent billions, and somehow Bungie feels weaker than ever. How did one of the most respected studios in gaming history become another cautionary tale about live service games, corporate decisions, and chasing trends? Because honestly, Bungie's downfall didn't happen overnight, and the more you look into it, the worse it gets. See, there was a time when Bungie understood gaming better than almost anybody. Halo wasn't just successful, it changed the industry. Halo CE revolutionized console shooters. Halo 2 changed online multiplayer forever. Halo 3 became a cultural event. People lined up at midnight launches. Friends skipped school to play together. Entire childhoods were built around custom games and LAN parties. And what made Bungie special back then was actually pretty simple. Their games felt complete. You bought Halo, you got a full campaign, you got multiplayer, you got Forge, you got custom games, no battle passes, no live service roadmaps, no seasonal monetization strategies, just a great game, and players trusted Bungie because every release felt crafted with a passion instead of corporate engagement metrics. That trust mattered more than people realize, because once a studio loses trust, it's almost impossible to get it back. When Bungie split from Microsoft, fans were excited. People thought, imagine what Bungie can do when they're fully independent. And to be fair, Destiny looked incredible at first. The original reveal generated insane hype. People thought Destiny would become the next great gaming universe, a massive sci-fi adventure combining Halo gunplay with MMO-style progression. And in some ways, Bungie absolutely delivered. Even today, Destiny's gunplay is elite, and the art direction is phenomenal. The soundtrack is incredible. But Destiny also marked the beginning of Bungie's biggest problem, the obsession with engagement. Slowly, the focus shifted away from making unforgettable experiences and toward keeping players constantly grinding. And over time, the philosophy infected everything. Pisses me off, man. They destroyed their fucking rep. Anyways, this is where a lot of players started burning out, because Destiny slowly stopped feeling like an adventure and started feeling like maintenance. Every season introduced another checklist, another currency, another temporary activity, another grind. And the problem wasn't just the grinding itself, it was the feeling that your time never mattered. Weapons got sunset, content got vaulted, entire expansions disappeared. Imagine paying for a game only for chunks of it to literally vanish later. Players hated that, and Bungie kept doubling down on systems designed around retention instead of enjoyment. At the moment where a lot of fans started saying, wait, does Bungie actually care about fun anymore? Because the modern live service designs creates this constant pressure. Log in, do your dailies, don't miss rewards, finish the pass before the season ends. I fucking hate the time passes. I don't know why companies do it. It becomes psychological, and eventually people get tired, especially when every major publisher is trying to turn games into second jobs. Here's the problem Bungie didn't seem to understand. The gaming audience changed. For years, publishers believed live service games were basically infinite money machines, and for a while they were. Fortnite exploded, Warzone exploded. I personally played a fuck ton of Warzone. Couldn't really give too many shits about Fortnite. But Destiny I did play. Destiny made huge money, so every company chased the trend. But eventually players got exhausted, people got tired of battle passes, endless grinding, unfinished launches, cash shops, FOMO mechanics, because I know I did. Gamers started wanting something different again. You can actually see the shift happening right now. Single player games started dominating conversations again. Players began praising games that respected their time. People started celebrating complete experiences again. But Bungie still felt trapped in the old mindset, still chasing engagement, still designing around retention metrics, still building games that players want infinite live service commitments forever. And then came Marathon. Shit. I genuinely think Marathon exposed how disconnected Bungie had become from the gaming audience, because who was asking for this? Who actually was asking Marathon? An extraction shooter in a market already overcrowded with them. At a time when players are actively getting tired of live service games, the reaction to Marathon wasn't excitement, it was confusion, and a lot of gamers looked at it and immediately thought, oh great, another live service. Or I looked at it like, what the fuck is this shit? And that's devastating for Bungie, because this was supposed to be their next big thing, their comeback. Instead, it immediately felt like Bungie chasing trends again instead of creating them. And the saddest part, the Marathon name actually means something historically. The original Marathon games helped shape Bungie's identity before Halo even existed, but instead of reviving that legacy with something bold and fresh, it just felt like another corporate live service product. That's why people were disappointed, not because gamers hate Bungie, but because they remember how good Bungie used to be. Now let's talk about the Sony deal, because this is where things get really interesting. See, Sony bought Bungie for billions of dollars, and at the time it sounded massive. People assumed Sony was buying one of the most experienced live service studios in the world, which, to be honest, they were. Bungie was supposedly going to help Sony dominate live service gaming, but then reality hit. The live service bubble started collapsing, players became harder to retain, games started failing faster, development costs exploded, and suddenly Sony was sitting on a Bungie that no longer looked unstoppable. Then came layoffs, reports of internal struggles, missed expectations. Now the entire acquisition looks way less impressive than it did initially. Because instead of Bungie elevating Sony, it feels like Sony inherited a studio already losing direction. I think this is the real issue, not Marathon, not Destiny, not even Sony, but, well, actually Sony was a big fucking player in this fuck up, to be honest with you. But Bungie lost its identity. Old Bungie made games that felt passionate, focused, creative. Modern Bungie feels obsessed with systems, engagement systems, monetization systems, retention systems, and players can feel the difference immediately. Like, you know, while Halo felt magical, it's because it felt like Bungie wanted players to have fun. Modern Bungie often feels like it wants players to stay monetized. That's a massive difference, and once gamers start feeling manipulated instead of entertained, they emotionally disconnect from your game, and that's what happened here. Honestly, maybe it's still Bungie, the talent is still them somehow. Somewhere, Destiny still has loyal fans, their gunplay is still incredible, they still know how to create amazing worlds, but the company desperately needs to rediscover what made people love them in the first place. Because right now Bungie feels trapped between corporate expectations, live service addictions, and an audience that rapidly losing patience. And if Marathon fails long term, things could get really ugly. Like I'd hate to see Bungie shut down. That would fuck up the industry. Can you imagine shutting down the studio that made Halo? Like, so what a fuck up by Sony. But I fear it might actually happen. I'm not gonna lie, I fear it might happen. People grew up with these games, made friendships through these games, built memories around these games. That legacy matters, which is why Bungie slowly losing itself feels generally depressing for longtime fans. Like, maybe they recover, maybe they reinvent themselves, maybe they finally learn the lesson players have been screaming for years. But one thing is clear, that the Bungie that made Halo is gone. And I think the moral of the story is, Bungie, you should have just stayed to Halo. Stayed at Xbox, made Microsoft a fuck ton of money, and finally the fans would be happy.